The September 2006 list might be a case of one step forward, two steps back. Let's unban two of the most tournament-unfriendly cards at the same time. What could possibly go wrong? Before we talk about Victory Dragon and Ring of Destruction, a few more of the defining cards from GOAT and Chaos Control formats were banned. Chaos Sorcerer is a pretty good card for tempo, being able to special summon a 2300 attack monster from hand without losing card advantage. The non-destruction spot removal is also very nice, but the card is still objectively worse than Blackluster Soldier Envoy at the beginning, which has the same summoning condition. It makes sense that this card would eventually be banned. I can imagine Thousand Eyes Restrict caused a lot of headaches for the tournament staff, as the card dominates the battle phase and slows games down considerably. In retro deck building, I really enjoy Tsukiyomi as a tactical card, since it can shut off a monster's effect by flipping it face down, which also helps to get over some of the larger monsters in battle, but that option to recycle your flip effects gives the card a lot of utility, with that last function leading to really slow loops. Snatch Steal is just not a fair card. The downside of giving your opponent 1000 life points per turn is way too small, with cards like Upstart Goblin seeing play in a variety of strategies. But that is assuming Snatch Steal remains on the field until your opponent's turn. Very often this card was being used as a change of heart, where you could attack and maybe sacrifice the monster afterwards. Being able to keep the opponent's monster is also a good option though, although the equip spell is susceptible to back row removal. Finally, Temple of Kings was banned, and this card is wacky. The reason this card is banned is obviously the activating traps the turn they are set part of the effect, making it on par, if not better, than Makura the Destructor. But the remainder of the card text is also wild. This card can special summon any monster from the hand, deck, or extra deck at the time. The card was not future-proofed for extra deck monsters beyond fusions, but that is understandable. The massive list of eligible monsters is balanced by the one specific monster which needs to be tributed, Mystical Beast of Circuit, which is not great. It is an upgraded Millennium Scorpion with a DD Crazy Beast effect. For some reason, the card is a fairy, so I guess Valhalla Hall of the Fallen can help mitigate the high level at least. Moving on to the limits, we have a mouthful, Green Baboon Defender of the Forest. This card reminds me a lot of Manticore of Darkness, but this time it can be special summoned from the hand or grave, which is a plus. To balance this utility, there's a 1000 life point cost per revival, so some of the Manticore loops do not work anymore. But beyond that, the card is really good, offering a considerable amount of tempo when special summoned from the hand, and even a +1 in card advantage when special summoned from the grave. Nobleman of Crossout and Magician of Faith get featured in this series over and over again, because they continue to hop around the ban list, this time landing on limited. Nobleman of Crossout is very efficient face-down monster removal, and Magician of Faith can recycle spells. Unfortunately, these cards continue to move around the list throughout the years, so plan on seeing them in the future. Spirit Reaper jumps from 3 to 1 in a single update, which is remarkable because the card was not broken, even for the time. The self-destruct effect is confusing, but it does help to balance the battle destruction immunity. The dirty part of the card is when you are very far ahead and can take cards out of your opponent's hand. Unbanning Victory Dragon and Ring of Destruction were mistakes. Victory Dragon threatens the integrity of the match by removing games 2 and 3. No buffer against variance, no side decking, no alternate strategy. You get nothing, you lose. Good day, sir. I actually agree with the reasoning behind the erratum for Ring of Destruction, since the card causes ties. But the execution is not good though. Just making the card's owner take the damage first would be enough for me. Gravity Bind is annoying more than anything, and it locks down the battle phase like Thousand Eyes Restrict. The card has since been weakened considerably due to power creep and Xyz monsters having ranks instead of levels, but it is another card to slow down tournaments. Future Fusion is one of those cards that was probably great in the design and testing phase, where it was planned to be for specific fusion monsters, but the combination of Chimeratech Overdragon and Five-Headed Dragon broke the balance point of the card. To make matters worse, Overload Fusion and Dragon's Mirror remove the weighting aspect of the card and give you a fusion monster at a discounted rate compared to the conventional methods. This functions as a mass foolish burial with relatively little restriction. Remember that Dragon Shrine saw play, which was restricted to dragons, had a once per turn clause, and at most sent 2 dragons from the deck to the graveyard, one of which would have to be a normal monster. With Five-Headed Dragon, Future Fusion far outperforms Dragon Shrine. Last on the limited list is Ultimate Offering, which I always knew was powerful. The once per turn limitation on the normal summon was, for the longest time, a way to balance the amount of tempo which could be accumulated in a single turn. Having to run a dedicated card to circumvent the restriction is difficult, as card advantage is king, and Ultimate Offering does very little with an empty hand. But when you add cards which can replace themselves on summon, you can really see Ultimate Offering's true potential. The gadgets, and especially the monarchs, benefit from this card, and can very quickly lead to both board presence and card advantage. Both Exiled Force and Reckless Greed go from limited to semi-limited. The limitation of Ultimate Offering hurts Exiled Force, because now the card requires the normal summon to address a threat, which is a pretty steep price. The promise of easy card advantage Reckless Greed offers is deceiving, as you go -1 with the first copy. But if you can activate a second copy in the same turn, only the next 2 draw phases are skipped, meaning that the cards together total 0 material card advantage. But they are good for card selection, which is an element of virtual card advantage. Giant Trunade is always a -1, returning all the spells and traps to hand, which makes it look like a worse Heavy Storm, since it delays responses by a round instead of dealing with them immediately. Giant Trunade works very well with spells and traps which offer some sort of benefit upon activation and then remain on the field. And I think you know where this is going. For example, Premature Burial can revive a monster, then be bounced back to hand while the monster remains on the field. It is even worse with Future Fusion, offering another 5 dragons to the grave. Wall of Revealing Light was also semi-limited, but for a less obvious reason. This card allows you to pay too many life points, which is a pretty bizarre reason until you realize that Reversal Quiz swaps your life points with your opponent's. Then the field destruction effect can trigger cards like Black Pendant to deal the final 1,000 points of damage. The card Inspection also received an erratum for a similar reason, as it was missing the once per turn clause and could be used to continuously pay life points. 4 cards moved off the list. Reflect Bounder, which is a mediocre battle deterrent. Emergency Provisions, which was never really the problem. I'm pointing a finger at Mirage of Nightmare here. Lightning Vortex, which is strong mass removal, but balanced fairly well with the discard cost. And finally Drop Off, which is not a great disruption tool, since it is 1-for-1, slow, and restricted to just 1 card which has been drawn. Drop Off is worded so weird, by the way. When your opponent draws for their normal draw phase and their draw phase, your opponent discards 1 card they just drew. But it is designed to work with draw replacement effects like Guarded Treasure, or Guardian Treasure if you watch the 4Kids dub. So that is great future-proofing, which is neat. Glancing at the TCG list, it is identical with a few exceptions, those being the omission of Green Baboon Defender of the Forest and Temple of Kings, which were exclusive to the OCG at the time. The lists just keep getting longer every year, but I feel like I'm forgetting something.